You are all, each person, beautifully and uniquely created. Each one of you has a unique set of genetics from your parents, which were inherited from their parents and from their parents and on and on and on. And even if you have sisters and brothers, of course, each one of you has inherited a set of genes from each parent. Even if you are a identical twin, you still are uniquely and beautifully created because you are not bound by your genetics. It is the base code, like a computer code, that allows our technology or our bodies to work, but we need the environmental piece as well. So this is why twins, while you have identical twins, have the same genetics, will often have a different medical history based on their environment, their lifestyle choices, where they live, how they live, whether they've had traumatic events in their lives. Our genetic code is a really important piece of information. If I had my way, I would have everyone test, and the younger you test, the better. And the reason is because our genetics they don't bind us to them. So it is really just a code to know where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. And this code gives us a lot of information that we can use to create some workarounds. Workarounds the weak spots and augmenting the strong spots so that we can feel better, healthier, stronger. And when we test our genetics, we come up with some information that will never change. So this is a baseline code, that information that you can use as a tool for the rest of your life. And I encourage people, parents especially, to test their children, and the younger the better, because you have all that information while they're developing so that you can help them to develop in the best way possible, create an environment that works for their genetics for them. Sometimes it can be as simple as adding a specific type of supplement that will help build up the health of your child or you or your person or your family member or your friend. And so our genetic code is really interesting. So we have mapped out the entire human genome, which is pretty crazy because there's a lot of genes. When we have found in medicine that there are specific genes that are kind of the most powerful, in that when we have a SNP, what we call a SNP, which is a SNP, or a single nucleotide polymorphism. So when we have a change in our genetics from the wild type or from the healthy type, that is maybe not working as well for us, then when we know about that gene, the biochemistry that it codes for, then we can find a workaround. So it can be really powerful information, really, for the rest of your life, to have tools for you to know what to do if you are exposed. For example, I have a lot of autoimmune disease patients in my practice. When oftentimes autoimmunity can be one of the root causes can be a methylation deficiency. So for methylation is a process, it's a biochemical process that needs to happen in over 250 biochemical exchanges in our body for our cells to work well. So if we can't methylate, then we have problems with all of that biochemistry not working well. And in fact, our methylated B vitamins, so we take our B vitamins from our food and we methylate them in order to push them through our Krebs cycle or our mitochondrial cycle, where we create cellular energy. If we can't methylate our B vitamins, or if we can't get them into the cell, or if we can't absorb our B vitamins. So there's a lot of different spots in our genetics that you can test for to see if you need methylation support. Not everybody does, but some do. And very often when we don't know this information about ourselves, we don't have the tool to fix it. Another thing that can be root cause for autoimmune disease is an overactive immune system. So some people there are turn on genes and turn off genes. So there are genes that code for pushing our immune system to react to an attack, whether it's a virus, a trauma, a bacteria, some type of issue, and our immune system, food allergies, whatever, our immune system gets ramped up. But some people don't have the turn down dial. So the turn down dial is what we need to control inflammation. When our immune system is attacked, when our body's attacked and our immune system reacts to it, it immediately creates inflammation. That's part of the process of fighting off illness. However, if you can't turn that inflammation off and you continue to stay inflamed well past when you don't need to be, that inflammation builds up over time, and that causes chronic disease. It can be a contributor to heart disease, to diabetes, to any number, autoimmune disease, migraines. I mean, you name it, inflammation can be part of the cause. So if we know that we have inflammatory genes that are overactive, then we can help to decrease our own genetic inflammation, or our body's inflammation. We know that that's where we need to find a workaround. If, on the other hand, that's not our problem, but perhaps we have genetics that affect our mitochondria's ability to create energy. Maybe it's a mitochondrial process that needs to be worked around. So when we know our genetic code, when we know our base code, we have information that can really change our lives when we combine it with the environment. So as I say, we're not bound by our genetics. We're not bound by, if your mom had diabetes, you're absolutely going to get it. If your mom had, or your dad had cancer, you're going to get cancer. That's not true. It's really where environment meets genetics. That's where our destiny is created, and we can control our environment. So knowing that, why wouldn't you want to have the code? If you have the code, you know what to do with your environment to make yourself healthier and happier and more vital, and to prevent dementia, to improve aging process, slow down aging, and this is not just so that your skin stays beautiful and maybe you don't have wrinkles. This is all aging, meaning your joints, your body's ability to be mobile and active and healthy and productive, and to be able to have a clear mind that works for you well into old age. This is important. It's not just quantity of life, it's quality of life for that duration of quantity, if you will. So this is a really important, if I had one test and one program and you could only do one, this would be one of the ones I would suggest. The only one that would be more powerful would be my 6-month program. So I want to tell you a little bit about how the program works, just so you know, and the importance of testing with a company that doesn't share your information, use it for research, or sell it to the pharmaceutical companies. Your health information is your information, and it should be protected. And that is really important to me. So some of the companies that are out there and available through Ancestry, 23andMe, some of these other generic companies, they use your information, they sell your information, and it's not health protected. So it's really important to work with a company that is a true medical company that will protect your health information. I work with a company that will save your information for 3 months after we test. And the only reason we do that is so that we have time for you and I to get together and communicate about your genetics and talk about it and see if we need to add a test. If we need to add a test, they still have the genetics, and you will get those added tests at a discounted price. If we don't need to add a test, in 3 months they incinerate it and it's gone, and they don't sell it, they don't use it, none of those things. Only if you say it's okay for you to do research on this. But it is really important that we protect that information. So in this program, we would test for methylation, inflammation, your immune system, your neurotransmitters, your brain function, your inflammatory genes, and some others. So some really important genes. You will have the opportunity to meet with a genetic specialist who works with me for an hour, and he will go over and educate you on every single gene that you have and he will point out the ones that are working for you, and he'll point out the ones that need a workaround. And you will come away with a recorded video conversation, or sorry, recorded audio conversation with this SNP specialist, so that you can go back and listen to it anytime you want, moving forward in your life. So anytime you're having trouble, you can go back and watch that again, so that you can really learn what your base code is, so that you know how to handle situations in your life that come along. And then you will also have an opportunity to meet with me, and I will put together a very specific plan for you based on your unique personal genetic code, so that when things happen, you have tools in place already that you can use at your disposal that will help you to work around these genetics and to help you feel better quickly. So this is a very powerful program. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a lot. Please, if you have any questions at all about the things that I've said, please put it in the comments, and I will try and go back in the next 24 to 48 hours and answer your questions the best that I can. I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and I will see you soon. Bye.